Your Labrador puppy is constantly learning. They're learning behaviours, they're creating habits, whether that's good or bad, and they're creating those even when you're not actively taking part in a training session with them. At the young age that they are when they're little puppies, they're like little sponges for those first few months. They are just waiting for new information that we're going to give them, and they want to soak up all of that information and start putting it to good use. Now, dogs are clever, they train us very well, and they learn what gets them good results. And they do that by watching us, watching situations. They react in different ways and they watch how we react. And they're essentially experimenting all the time to see what response they get from the behaviors that they display. Because they're always watching and they're always learning, that starts to tell them what results they get in different situations. That means you've got to be really consistent and pretty proactive and respond appropriately to every single situation that they throw at you. And that will make sure that your little puppy doesn't pick up bad habits going forward. So your puppy is going to experiment to see if they get a response that they like, or if they get a response that kind of is pretty rubbish or that they don't like. So let's start off with one of the most problematic things for a puppy owner: barking. All dogs bark, it's a natural behavior, but your dog will be figuring out, is it worth them doing it? What response do I get when I bark? So if your dog barks and that barking causes you to go to them, to fuss them, to give them a treat just to keep them quiet, they essentially learn that barking is a pretty good thing to do, because every time they do it, they get this really good result, as in the human gives them attention, or we give them a toy or a treat just to keep them quiet. However, if your dog barks and you just ignore it and pretend it's not happening, your puppy will eventually learn that it's pointless barking, because nothing ever happens. You don't give them a response that they like. It's a very neutral response you give them. Totally ignore it. Your dog thinks, I'm not going to try this anymore. It's not worth my energy. In another example for you, if you've got a puppy that likes to chew on the dining table legs, and most puppies do this at some point, but maybe they're chewing on the dining table legs while you're out, when you've left them at home, they might start to think that it's just an acceptable thing to do because no one ever stops them, because of course you're not there to stop them. And that then creates a habit for them. They just think, well, I'll carry on doing it because I normally do it and it's okay. So to stop that behavior, you could use things like barriers. You could put them in another room or put them in a puppy playpen just to prevent them from accessing the table legs. And by preventing that access to the table legs, you're also preventing them from learning a habit or a behavior that is undesirable. So if your dog doesn't get an opportunity to practice it, it's never going to be something that they want to carry on doing. Another example, if your dog likes to raid the bin, again, quite common with Labradors this, you might just need to get a new bin with a secure lid, or change the location of the bin so your dog just can't access it. Because if you've got an unsecure bin that they can raid at free will, they learn that they can get into that bin, and they learn that actually it's quite a rewarding activity because they find little scraps of food or fun and enjoying things in there. So by taking some preventative steps, you will take the opportunity to practice this undesirable behavior away from your dog, meaning actually it's less likely to become this annoying habit as they grow up. And the other thing to consider with this is, when you have a cute 8-week-old little puppy, it's really easy to just dismiss some of the undesirable things that they do because they're cute, they're fluffy, they're nice, and we forgive a load because they're so great. But in a few months' time, I just want you to think, this cute little puppy that you've got is going to be huge. They're going to be big, they're going to be strong, and they'll be hitting adolescence. And if you've got an adolescent puppy that has got loads of bad habits with them that they've just picked up and learned throughout their puppy phase, it can be really, really challenging for you as their carer, because they've just learned that actually these things are quite good things to do. So it's very important in the early stages when you've got a puppy, just remember that your dog is always learning. So make sure they make good choices as a puppy to create good habits rather than bad habits.